Hi, this is Mark Carrington from mybitcoinprofits.com with our regular review of the Bitcoin price and Bitcoin markets. The last time we talked was on July the 12th, was not long after the halving, and we'd identified that the Bitcoin price was compressing into a triangle. Now, I want to cover three topics today. One is what to do from a trade point of view when Bitcoin is in such a triangle. And related to that is how long do we expect it to stay in that triangle? And the second question, which is somewhat related, is that I had a view that expressed to me that the Bitcoin price was going to move gradually upwards. And because that's what it had done at the last halving. And I just want to go back to the data from the last halving just to show what actually happened, and then we can sort of maybe use that as a way of looking at the current halving. And the third thing I want to explore is the opportunity to arbitrage price differences between markets. And I'm going to cover that because BitClub Network have some important announcements coming up in the coming months on that very topic. And the fourth thing we'll do is we'll have a quick look at what actually is happening in the Ethereum market, because there have been some important developments there. So as always, let's step to the markets and to see where we actually are. So you'll remember last time I had drawn in this downtrend line because that was a touch there and a touch there, and the price was sitting around here. And we were looking for trade ideas, two trade ideas, looking for the breakout test of this horizontal level which came off the monthly chart from way back when, and to trade long there, or to wait for a breakdown into this trading zone defined by the Fibonacci level and to trade upwards from there. So we can see what's actually happened is the price has basically just tracked in this range, in this really tight range, and doesn't appear to be going anywhere. So let's explore when we think this thing is likely to break out and what our trade ideas are. So the first thing I want to do is let's tidy up the charts and get rid of some of these things here that we don't need anymore. So I'll take out this, I'll take out the trading box because we've not got anywhere near there, and I'll take away the Fibonacci line. And so clearly what we have here is that we're still defined by a triangle, because we're not making higher highs, we're making successive lower highs. Every high is not quite as high as the one before, and but the lows have been, especially from the halving. This is the halving date here. Let's just draw an arrow into the halving date so that we know very clearly when the halving was. So the halving was the 9th of July, which is this bar here, and that's the halving. So I'll just draw that in there. So we've got something like 2 weeks of time that it's been somewhat defined in a triangle. But I'm going to answer the first question is that now our expectations are, because of growing demand for Bitcoin, growing interest in investing in Bitcoin, that the Bitcoin price will move up gradually or with some pace. And our belief is that it will move up. And I'm going to step back. I'm going to pull a chart across. It's actually just a photograph of what happened at the last halving, and let's see if we can apply the lessons to here. So here we have the data for the last halving. The little arrow down here shows the date of the halving, which was the 28th of November. And on the 29th of January, so over here, the price had increased by 50%. So it had gone from $12.15 to $18.30. That's a 50% increase in price. by February the 14th, so just 2 weeks later, it had increased by 100%. So the price had doubled. So it had gone from 12.15 to 24.64. These are the closing prices for those days. And by the 5th of March, it had gone up by 200% in 3.25 months. So by my reckoning of the way markets work, you cannot describe that as a gradual increase. That's a pretty rapid increase. So if we were looking for a 50% increase, well, let's just do it in 3.25 months, where would we be? So let's go back to our charts. So we've got the halving here, the 9th of July. We want to move our chart so that we can put 3.5 months here. So that would be the, let's just take in round numbers, the end of October. That would be 3.5 months. That's the beginning of October. And we're looking for the price, the closing price on that day, on the 9th of July, the closing price was 647. So if we're looking for a 50% increase in there, we want to add $320 to that. So that takes us to $960. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw an arrow in there, draw a line in there for $960. So there's $960. So if we were to do half or a quarter of what the last halving did, and if history is any guide, that is where the Bitcoin price would go. Personally, I'd be surprised if it does that, but because history is never a good benchmark for what's going to happen. Anyway, but that's something just to bear in mind. Now, the next question is how long can Bitcoin stay in a triangle like this? And the only way you can really answer that is by guessing, by thumbsuck, or by going back to history. And if we take, for example, this one here, so we've got a rising trend line here, and we've got a downtrend line here. This is for the weekly, so that's the longer trend. This is from the daily, so this is a shorter trend line, and that is forming the triangle. So from the time that this triangle started forming, and you can only really define that by when we have enough touches. So this trend line here off the weekly has come from way back, so that's the first definition. And then we've got several touches here, so we now have the triangle formed. We can safely say the triangle is formed once it failed to break this weekly downtrend line. So how long is that? So we're going to go from there, and we're going to go until it broke out of the triangle, which is here. And I'm doing two things with this box. What this box is telling me how long that period was. So that's this number here, 53 days. So 53 days of price compression. And the other number it tells me is how wide the range was. So the range was $61. So that was the range. So if we apply that to where we are now, and I'm going to take it from the halving because that gives us a fixed starting point. We're going to cover the top and the bottom of the price, and we're going to go for 63, what do we say, 53 days. 53 days, there's 53 days, and we want $63. Well, that's pretty well the range that it's in now. So we've got $60 is the range from this low to this high here, and it's 53 days long. So that tells me that we could stay in this trading range right until the end of August if all other things being equal, so provided there are no major changes in the technologies, there are no major surprises like the DAO surprise that we had on Ethereum, which had an effect on this price, which drove this here. There are no market surprises like a Brexit or a major event like that, which drove when the Brexit was the 23rd. This happened to be at the same time as the Ethereum surprise. Now I think the Ethereum surprise was here, so that's the Ethereum surprise. This is the Brexit situation. So all things being equal, we can expect this thing to trade in a range right until the end of August. So what does that mean for me? So I've now drawn a new triangle. So what my trade interest is to trade when we've broken out of this triangle, come back to test a level, and then we'll trade long there. Or, and I'll do exactly what I do all the time, is I'll draw a Fibonacci line in here, and I'll draw the trading box between the 0.5 and the 0.6. So that's my guess as to where the trading opportunity will arise. So we've got two trade ideas, but we're waiting until the end of August. We would not be surprised if we get to the end of August, which is over here. Now, if we just want to get a little confirmation about what breakouts look like, let's have a look at Ethereum. So we go back to, this is a chart we've had up for quite a while. This big drop in the Ethereum price was driven by the DAO problems. We've had a recovery, we had a pullback, and they resolved during this time frame. They've resolved the challenges that they had with the deciding about the soft fork and the hard fork. So I quite like what's going on here, because the first thing I can do is that I can now see that we actually have a rising trend line. I've got higher highs and I have higher lows. So we can actually draw this as a channel. Hard to work out where the top of the channel is because we don't know whether the top is there or there. But I may just choose to leave the channel line out for now. Let's get rid of these arrows here because they're just going to confuse us. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a re-entry somewhere near this trend line, and as it happens here, the Fibonacci level is between 0.6 and 0.786. So we're looking for a reversal into the trade somewhere here, and it would be nice to see if there's a horizontal level that we could trade as well. And there absolutely is a horizontal level there drawn off the daily, so it'll be a green line, sorry, a red line, and there's the reversal there. So the price is run up here, and it is a pertinent horizontal, and there was a reversal here because the price went up and then closed below this line. So this line is a relevant line. So we may well have a new market structure setting up for us to trade here. So this is the beauty of trading breakout and retest. Right, so that then covers the topics I wanted to cover on the Bitcoin price and Bitcoin markets. So interested in trading Ethereum because the setup is right. On the Bitcoin, I'm absolutely just sitting waiting on my hands, either looking for this shape or a pullback down to this box here, and hopefully it would be above this downtrend line, and then we can trade out of there. But I'm just fully expecting this thing to keep tracking sideways for some time. Let's just talk about arbitrage opportunities. And I'm going to do, I've just Googled Bitcoin markets US dollars, and I have picked one of these comparative Bitcoin charts that shows me Bitcoin prices across markets. And the one I'm using is a website called bitcoinaverage.com, markets in US dollars. And what this does is it's a very neat site, because what it shows me the difference in prices between markets for Bitcoin against the US dollar, and it ranks them by the size of the markets. So the arbitrage idea is that we look to buy Bitcoin in a place that they're cheap and sell them in a place that they're expensive. So if we go and identify where is Bitcoin, the lowest level of Bitcoin on this list right at the moment, is there's some down here, but the market share is 0.01%, and there is not a lot of volume. It's showing zeros volume, so I would ignore that one there. But let's just go and let's find here. So BTCE, we'd go and buy. So we'll buy there at 651, and then we're going to look for the highest place we can sell it. We'll ignore local Bitcoins, because that's not an exchange. That is where people meet face to face, or to make their trades. So we could sell it possibly here at LoyalBit at 657, bitx.la at 658. So we get, and CampBX, no volume. So we'll ignore these ones here because there's no volume. So we could go and buy a few Bitcoin and go and sell them here. And we would make what we were buying at. We'll notice while we've been watching, this prices has moved a little bit, but it's gone from 649 to 658, so we can make $9 per Bitcoin. So if we could buy 10, we would sell 90. I'd be hard pressed to go and buy 100 to make 900, because you can't sell 100 on this market. You can't sell 100 in this market, can't sell 100 in this market. We've excluded this. If you were to go sell 100 in this market, you're going to change the price, because there are only 876 was the volume. So you're really limited to doing, can I buy here, sell here, because these are both liquid markets. Now at BitClub Network are in the process of building an arbitrage robot that does this analysis automatically. Now the opportunity in Bitcoin against the US dollar is not necessarily that good. Let's just have a look and see if we can get some differences between in the other currency pairs. So if I just look at these top three markets against the euro, there's not a lot of difference. We can get 5 euros difference between these two exchanges. If we look at the Chinese currency, 4391, 4385, we can actually only get 6 here. So this has been completely arbitraged out. And then if we go into pounds, we just ignore local Bitcoins. Coin floor to GDAX is a £6 difference, but there's a difference here. So if we could buy those and sell them there is £23 per Bitcoin, which is a little more attractive than the $6 we were talking about. And if we just step across to see how it looks against the Canadian dollar, is there an opportunity here? There's absolutely an opportunity here, because we will buy these ones and sell those ones, and there's $14 Canadian. The challenge, of course, for any sort of arbitrage opportunity is you have to be a member of both exchanges. You have to have put money into both exchanges, either in Bitcoin or in fiat currency, and you need to work out with spread and with between your currency in, between the spreads and the trades, whether you'll actually make any money. I did find there are a few articles around that talk about how to do this calculator. So this one here is called 99bitcoins.com, Bitcoin Arbitrage. It's got an arbitrage calculator spreadsheet, puts the two exchanges in, sees what the numbers are, calculates, identifies what the deposit fees are to get your money in, what the exchange fees are on the trade, what the Bitcoin withdrawal fees to get your Bitcoin out are, and what it takes to get your cash out when you're finished, and calculate whether you actually make any money. Quite a neat little calculator, and you can download it from this link here, which I will post in the bottom of the descriptions. Now, in other markets, in other coins that are not as well established as Bitcoin, so coins like Litecoin or Namecoin or even Ethereum, where we have new exchanges being evolved, this opportunity may be interesting, and it exists for as long as you can trade between the markets fairly easily, as long as the time scales between your buy and your sell work fine, and the spreads can be covered by the profits that you're making. And of course, only a brief discussion on Bitcoin arbitrage. Hard to do manually, interesting to do as a robot. Eventually what happens in the fullness of time is arbitrage opportunities are eliminated because someone else just writes his own computer program and you can copy it. But there are many opportunities available, especially if you can find someone else to provide the liquidity, so the capital that you need to be a member of each of the exchanges. And that's ultimately what the BitClub network opportunity is going to cover. Anyway, so that's enough for now. Happy Bitcoining, be patient, and happy trading.